Okay, I finally fucking did it. Jesus Christ. Why do they make it so hard for you to get the special ending? I think they just maybe there was like an oversight about it. I'm sorry, that was my mic. I feel like I've been trying for over an hour, maybe 4 or 5 minutes, something like that. Because I went through it like twice, being like, I'm choosing all of the red options to get his special end. Why on earth is it not giving me it? I couldn't understand it, and so I googled it, and I went into Steam, I went to the discussions, typed Randall into the search bar, and then I found someone asking the same question. And it's because some of the answers that are red, aka meaning you have to pick them, are hidden behind white answers. So I would need to somehow divine the correct white answer to choose to get the red answer that I need to continue along his path. Anyway, nothing. I will pause if I ever need to fast forward, but I don't know if I will, because I think at this point the special ending happens. So in this case, I have just seen Randall at the beach the first time, at the beach when like you have your first kiss with him, and then that's where the red options stop, and he kind of looks at you weird, almost resentful. So we're gonna see what that's about, but I have a bad feeling. But every time I saw Randall, he seemed slightly different. I need to click onto the game. Something about him was changing, and I didn't know what. Only that it gave me a strange, slightly unsettled feeling. And here we have this again. I may pause because I don't know what's gonna happen. Let's just go ahead. Too afraid to attack me alone. Take cover, follow the attacker, go to the hotel, talk to her about that I was attacked. They seem incredibly strong. I'm not afraid to speak my mind. I will, you do the same. I always just go to the beach house to like chat. See if anything's different. Nothing's different so far, otherwise it would like... I don't know why I can talk to him now. Oh, I guess I hadn't asked him any of this. No, I didn't ask him this either. Something that happened. Did you find who the shooter was? I also, when he got shot in the neck, on one of the turns that I failed, or maybe no, not this one. On one of the other ones that I failed, I looked for the shooter, and apparently the shooter was a Mavar, or at least someone dressed as a Mavar. But I think it was a Mavar because she was like, well, I was like, oh, I recognize him. Anyway, we're not gonna do shit. We're just gonna head back to the room. Oh, and here we go. I rolled over in my bed, curling under the covers. A particularly loud siren had woken me up, but my body wanted to sink into sleep. I stretched out an arm over my pillow, shifting slightly, and my fingertips brushed against something. Cool and thin. Paper. Confused, I sat up, switching on the lights. Sure enough, a piece of paper was sitting on the pillow beside me. On it was a single word, scratched out in large, unnerving script. Hoyfield. Is that Hoyfield, though? Is that Hoyfield? Holyfield. Why does that sound familiar? We've heard that name before, but I don't remember where. Oh, okay, yes, of course. The Holyfield Cemetery. My mind immediately flicked to one person. Andre must have been summoning me, but how did he get a note inside my room? It hadn't been there when I went to bed, which meant someone or something placed it there while I was sleeping. My window and room door were both closed and locked, and it didn't look like they'd been forced. The more I thought about it, the more an uneasy chill gripped my insides. As I hurriedly dressed myself, I ran through possible reasons for the note in my head. It seemed too obvious to be a trap by Charisse, but Andre and I weren't exactly on the best of terms either. What could he possibly want to talk to me about? Yeah, I'm not really friends with anyone. I didn't do anything, because there was no point. There's no point in, like, ingratiating myself to people. I left the hotel and hailed a cab, feeling the cold night air sink more into my bones than usual. The ride to Holyfield Cemetery seemed to stretch on, and the cabbie's choice to play a single 80s pop song on repeat was only part of it. I felt like an animal alerted to danger from gut instinct, not from any of its 5 senses. Yet at the same time, I knew that I couldn't run away from the source of that danger. I had to figure out what was behind it. The towering iron gates creaked open for me once more. But unlike our first meeting, Andre was already waiting nearby, his tall figure towering like a monument among the graves. Hello. Thank you for coming, Valkii. He swiftly turned to face me. I immediately noticed a strange look in his eyes, one that almost resembled dread. I'm guessing this is pretty important. To call it merely important would be a gravely dangerous understatement. I would not have asked you here if it did not pertain to something that required immediate action. He paused, lowering his head for a moment. For the first time, his normally perfect composure seemed to be wavering. What the fuck's going on? I will address the heart of this matter without delay, Valkii. Randall is not the man you believe him to be. What? What? Turning away slightly, Andre began to pace along the path, his long strides entirely silent. Oh, are we gonna figure out what their connection is finally? I fell into step beside him, hurrying a little to keep up with his anxious pace. I am certain that you have noticed a particular gift we all possess, the gift of recognizing a vampire's house, often within moments of meeting them. Yes, go on. No one truly understands this instinct, only that it is innate, albeit with an infinitesimal chance of error. Fucking stupid words. On occasion, someone will attempt to mask their true nature of their blood. Oh no, is he not a Mavar? That doesn't make sense. Someone will attempt to mask the true nature of their blood. Oh, my cat is ruining this. Just go back to sleep. Okay, they will pose as a member of another clan, often to attain a certain goal. We Golgotha, however, are almost always able to see through these masks. Our unique skills of perception instantly reveal the true behavior of their bloodline that they attempt to hide. As a result, very few vampires ever risk such a dangerous masquerade. In the best cases, it ends only in infamy and mistrust. Only someone with complete and total detachment from their true identity, their true house, could possibly succeed. Fuck. He came to an abrupt stop right in front of me, staring directly into my eyes. What I am attempting to tell you is, Randall is not a Mavar, Valkii. How could you possibly know that? I will explain it to you. He avoids engaging in lone combat at all costs, as it would show his lack of Mavar physical abilities. He very rarely acts on impulse, even if he appears tempted to do so. His actions are almost always premeditated. And despite his role as the clan's leader, his true dedication is to individuality and personal strength, not to the group as he tries to convince himself. Get in, go to sleep. Go to sleep, sweetie. Andre spoke slowly, more and more concern creeping into his low voice. I have observed his behavior closely ever since our first meeting, when I sensed something unnatural about him. Several days after you returned, I dared to broach the subject with him in direct conversation, and he reacted with a degree of frantic vitriol that only served to further my suspicions. We already differed strongly in our political opinions, but my discovery of his true nature elicited a powerful fear and loathing within him. It forced Randall to remember the man he once was. If you're right, then what type of vampire is he? I do not know. He is either an Ascari submerged so deeply in self-loathing that he destroyed his previous identity, or a Golgotha, his mind broken from glimpsing the horrors underneath, and his Mavar identity is a means of escape. I don't know. I still don't think I believe you. Even if you do not accept my word, Valkii, I am entreating you. Please listen to the rest of what I have to say. He hesitated briefly, then leaned in a little closer. The glow of his unblinking eyes seemed to waver and flicker ephemerally. Ugh, my brain. It's very early. I have told no one else of my discovery yet. There is little concrete evidence, and it would serve only to further inflame the wrath of the Mavar against me. But I did not ask you here merely to divulge the secret. Recently, something has made Randall increasingly unstable. I feel a great danger in the city, in his followers, and in the strange and apocalyptic signs unfolding before me. Randall's clan desperately longs for a messiah, a faultless figure that they may eagerly kill and die for. He has rejected that power until now, but if he were to embrace it, to harness their mindless strength, He will drive us all towards destruction. I can't let that happen. Is there any way I can stop him? I believe you are the only one who can, Valkii. That is why I had to speak with you. Taking a step back from me, Andre shut his eyes tightly. Whatever he saw behind his eyelids must have been utterly horrific, because when he met my gaze again, I saw pure, deep terror. You must pull away from him You must pull him away from whatever darkness is emerging before it swallows us whole. Before it swallows us all whole. I'll do everything I can, Andre. So you must. I only hope that it will be enough. Probably not, honestly. Like, just straight up, probably enough. Not enough. Clutching the front of his coat, he turned his back to me, only to pause, addressing his final words to the nearly full moon. Remember, Valkii. Randall shattered his own identity, the one thing we cling to for our existence. If he could destroy even that, the very structure of his self, his entire world, then he can destroy anything at all. Ooh. Yikes. The next evening I awoke in a daze. After leaving the graveyard last night, I'd completed a few small tasks for Charisse, but when I finally tried to sleep, all I had were nightmares. I couldn't remember them now, but I knew they'd been incredibly strange and beautiful somehow. But I had more important things to worry about. Randall. I needed to visit him tonight. Of course, it was completely plausible that Andre had fed me a convincing string of lies, but even if he was right, he had to be exaggerating, at least a little bit. Randall was a good person, and he'd always been kind to me. That kindness had to be genuine, I knew it was. Still, it wouldn't hurt to confirm things for myself. I dressed myself and made my way over to the door, reaching for the handle. For some reason, I felt compelled to glance back over my shoulder, back at my picture-perfect room and the window that Randall had climbed through not so long ago. Through the gap between skyscrapers, I caught a glimpse of the moon, its pale glow dimly reaching through the glass. With that stark image burnt into my mind, I left. The hotel lobby seemed mostly empty. There was no sign of Charisse or anyone else I recognized, except Marcus. Marcus stepped through the revolving door, heading towards the hallway behind me. But as we passed each other, he suddenly leaned in, his lips almost brushing my ear. You had to do this, Valkii. Someone had to push him this far. Wait, do you know? Instead of acknowledging me, though, Marcus kept walking. Soon he disappeared into a side room, leaving me alone in the lobby. Slightly unnerved, I left the hotel to catch a taxi. Marcus saying strange things wasn't exactly new, although there was a peculiar look in his eyes when he passed me. Maybe he knew something about Randall too, only time would tell. During the ride to Santa Monica, I mulled over what to tell Randall. How could I bring up the subject without sounding like I trusted Andre more than him? Being completely honest was probably the best approach, and if there was nothing to the accusation, he'd dismiss it right there. Hopefully we could settle it without causing a rift between us. Doubt. Extreme doubt. I am having extreme doubt. I don't think that's gonna happen. When I arrived on the beach and started hurrying towards the beach house, I noticed a large shape in the distance. It looked like a giant group of Mavar. Had there been this many last time? No, his number of followers had definitely grown, unless they were having some kind of party. Okay, this seems familiar, but there's no skipping. Hey Valkii, one of them called out to me as I approached the house. Sure enough, I saw a lot of faces I didn't recognize, including some who didn't even seem like Mavar. If you're looking for Randall, he's inside. You should say hi. He's been having a rough week, so go easy on him, alright? Yeah, poor guy. I will, thanks. Yeah. I slipped inside the house, glancing around for Randall. He was sitting on the floor, his back facing me. In his hands were faded photos taken from a large stack between his legs. He seemed to be going through them with a sort of fascination or maybe confusion. Whichever it was, he was so engrossed in the pictures that he didn't even notice me at first. But when the door clicked shut, Randall abruptly rose to his feet. Valkii. Came by to pay me a visit, huh? Despite the small smile that flickered across his lips, his voice came out strained. Are you okay? You don't sound so good. I'm fine, don't worry about it. He shook his head, smoothing his hair back with a hand. Looks like you have something on your mind, though. Andre said, I'm just gonna be honest. Andre said you've been hiding your real identity, your real house. Oh. He stared at me wordlessly for a moment. I should have known he'd find you eventually. His voice sank, falling into a quiet monotone. There were no signs of anger on his face, and he didn't try to defend himself. Shouldn't be that surprised. It had to rear its head sooner or later. Randall's gaze drifted back to mine, unnervingly calm. So if he's suffering from, like, an identity crisis, that, like, reflection thing makes sense. Are they all suffering from an identity crisis? I think they are. I think that's what all ties them together. Oh my god, maybe he is an Ascari, and that's what friggin'... These are spoilers from the other routes, by the way. God, but I'm, like, losing my mind. But... yeah, it's when Marcus was like, oh, they're more familiar, they're more similar than they think. Maybe he meant that. I don't know. Ugh. My mind is buzzing. Randall's gaze drifted back to mine, unnervingly calm, but somewhere in his eyes I could see an unbearable pain beginning to surface, mirrored by the faint cracks in his voice. I'm gonna give it a save. It doesn't matter, Randall, I love you for who you are. I'm gonna probably go back and change that. My words made him cringe, his expression darkening. I don't know who I am. Okay, I'm gonna choose the other one, because I did like that one better, but I just wanted to see where this one went. Then it's true, but if you're not Mavar, then what are you? Oh. He smiled at me blankly. I don't know. I don't know what I am. He took a step towards me, then another and another. His towering body cast a huge shadow, one that felt like it was swallowing me up. I reflexively shrunk back a little. I reflexively shrunk back a little. Ugh, my brain. You know, back when I worked at that hotel, back when I didn't matter at all, I was so poor, so sick, just pathetic doing what I was told to do and never thinking about anything. His lip curled in a look of utter disgust, the revulsion from seeing vermin or human waste. I hated myself as much as those beautiful people I saw every day hated me, and I hated them. I hated how filthy I was, how weak I was, how my feet were stuck in this mud, this depression with no way out, because I just didn't care about anything. His eyes fell to the bandages on his palms. But the people like me, the outcasts, the unloved, the ugly, the broken, and hopeless, I wanted to save them. This time Randall's voice cracked more deeply. More than anything, I wanted to save the people who suffered like me, the ones who couldn't save themselves. So when I was bitten, when someone, I can't even remember who, picked my filthy body off the street and sank their fangs into me, I saw it as a second chance. His words had fallen to a low, shaky whisper. It was the same voice, Randall's voice, and yet it almost sounded like an entirely different person. A rebirth, like my cocoon was cracking. I could climb free into the light, into that warm place I wanted to reach so badly. I got rid of everything that made me despicable, and I finally became something beautiful. I became this. Randall. What happened to your old self? It was keeping me chained in that pit, away from everything I dreamed of becoming. My old self, it never died. I locked it away, crushed it down, all of that fucking misery and contempt. I thought it was gone forever. But it's been growing, Valkii. It's been coming back, and it's stronger than I ever could have thought. And this hero I made, Randall, he doesn't want to save anything anymore. Who are you right now, Randall or your old self? I don't know. I think they're about to become the same thing. Covering his face with his hands, he slowly turned away from me. Tremors seemed to shake his whole body, making him shudder and jerk unnaturally. When he finally faced me again, his eyes had a cold vacancy in them. When I was turned, I tried so hard, Valkii, to speak for all the vampires who wanted to be free. I tried to believe in them, in us, in you. His tone suddenly grew sharp, accusing. But then I look at them, I listen to them, I see what they've made me into, and I realize they don't deserve to be saved. No, they don't want to be saved. It sounded like he was scraping those words from the blackest depths of his soul. They're happy to wallow in hatred, self-righteousness, in an echo chamber full of their own fucking pig squeals. They don't really care about being free. They want someone telling them what to do. They can't handle total control over their lives or responsibility for their own actions. All of them think they're wild and rebellious and individuals, but if I wasn't here, they'd slaver over something else. Vampire, human, object, idea, god. They can't survive without something to worship. They're not mindless drones. They love you because you care about them. He watched me silently for a moment, smiling. If you think they love me, you're even more pathetic than they are. You little bastard. They just want the nice feeling of having something to hate, of feeling like they're better than someone else. They want to live through someone who can put that hate into smart words and real actions, who can do all the thinking for them. His eyes flicked to the window, where blissful chatter and shouting filtered through the glass. You can say that I'm wrong, I'm sure you want to. You can say that you know I'm really a good person, or that there's some fucking higher power that's going to make everything okay. Good always wins, evil loses, right? That's why history is written by the winners. Randall flicked his tongue across his lips, pausing. Then he reached out for me. Just stay still. One of his hands reached behind my head to grasp my hair, while his other clamped over my mouth. The bandage on his palm scraped roughly against my lips, tasting faintly of something foul and acrid. Ever since that first night we met, I wanted to believe that you were different from them, Valkii. Randall gazed at me sorrowfully, almost pityingly. You seemed so pure, so bright, so beautiful. I knew you could be as strong as me, stronger if you wanted to be. If only you'd just looked at yourself instead of at me. But you never did. You started to pull my hair harder, fingertips digging hard against my face. It wouldn't have mattered anyway. Sink my fangs into his hand. Hoping to catch him off guard, I suddenly pressed forward, digging my fangs into his palm. Immediately, a disgusting liquid poured onto my tongue. Bitter, acidic, painful. It scalded my throat like poison. Can't drink it, Valkii, because you can't face what I am, but I'm the same thing as you. Rather than jerking back, Randall only offered a colourless remark as I gagged against his torn hand. You're not going to die tonight. I want to go back and do something else. Hey, stop talking. Load. Kick and struggle. I thrashed in his grip, using all my strength to try and push him away. If he wasn't a Mavar, then maybe I could even overpower him. It's too late for that. Okay, I'm just gonna stay still. There's no point. It's futile. I made no attempt to struggle. If he wanted to kill me this very second, there was nothing I could do. But as if he were reading my mind, Randall slowly shook his head. You're not going to die tonight. You're going to have a use. It's better than being useless. 2 radiant eyes poured directly into mine, growing brighter and brighter. I recognized them, the same look I'd glimpsed before. Pure hatred and contempt, seeping out like black smoke from under Randall's mask. The layers of despair seemed to be cracking, and what was emerging looked smooth and cold. Something not of this world. I don't need any pity. There's nothing sad or special about me or about my life. Everyone's abused in different ways. But now I'm ready to be the abuser, one for the whole world, because it needs one so desperately. Thank you, Valkii. Thank you for letting me finally be free. He'll show them. Yeah, he's gonna show them. Go to sleep, kitten. He's gonna make them repent. He's gonna make them fucking repent. They're gonna know how it feels to be us. The garage overflowed with moving bodies. There were far, far too many to fit on the beach. I can't believe we finally got the Ascari bitch and that piece of shit Andre. When he gets their power, he's gonna save us all. They believed in Randall more than anything, which was why his plan worked. There was only one way a vampire could grow physically stronger: the corpses of other vampires. Randall needed to eat their flesh, and lots of it. That meant he needed enemies to consume. At first, many of his followers were hesitant. Some of them left, too disgusted by the very idea, but others were more willing to listen. The fanatics convinced them that bloodshed would happen anyway. They had to fight for their freedom, or else live as slaves, so why not turn all the corpses towards the greater good? With enough pressure and under the growing force of Randall's now destructive charisma, the remaining Mavar agreed to the plan either from true conviction or fear. And for my part, I was used as bait. Randall trapped me in the back room, using his followers to spread the rumor that I had joined the uprising. I was kept on the edge of starvation, powerless to do anything but lie in the darkness, waiting for whatever blood they forced down my throat. But Randall made sure I stayed alive, as if he wanted me to witness the decay of everything. Before long, Charisse sent a group of Ascari agents to the beach house, first in an attack to punish my betrayal, then in an attempt to rescue once she'd realized I'd been kidnapped. Andre even joined her. I saw his followers fighting side by side with the Ascari, desperately trying to suppress the Mavar. But Randall's clan, ignited by their new cause, were more than ready for the assault. They brought the Ascari corpses to Randall, and he consumed them before the cheering mob, ripping off decayed limbs as more and more vampires howled in delight. Then it began in earnest. Night after night they dragged in more Ascari and Golgotha, hunting them down in the streets, in the neutral grounds, even pulling them from their homes. Sometimes they were already dead by the time they were brought to Randall, and sometimes they could still scream. But no one seemed to care because the victims weren't seen as other vampires. They were less than that. Not even vampires, and not even enemies, not even people. They were subhuman. As Randall's power grew, so did his followers. Stories spread far and wide of his great strength, of how he could walk through walls and under sunlight, how he could instantly regrow missing limbs or kill a vampire just by touching them. They talked about his promises, that he would liberate not just Mavar, but any vampire in the city. All they had to do was come to him, join him, and they could be saved. And if they didn't, they would suffer when Randall freed the world. Tear into them, Randall. Make the world a better fucking place, one less fascist at a time. Tonight they had finally captured Charisse and Andre. Both of them fled LA after the first massacres, but Randall's followers managed to hunt them down. Now the vampires crowded around their leader as he knelt on the concrete, gazing down at the two bound, struggling bodies. I could only watch with them as Randall sank his fingers into both of their exposed rib cages. And at last their angel grew his wings. Yes. Okay, this looks like the beginning of a CG. Wild screams and cheers blurred together into a buzzing hive. Every face in the crowd looked different. It was diverse as all of America. But all of that huge, spangled mass was united by one powerful and unrelenting feeling: hatred. The stadium lights flashed, swirling over so many writhing bodies, until finally they focused on the man before the podium. The crowd instantly screamed louder, their voices joining into a sea of cacophony. Even when he raised a hand to quiet them, they continued to cheer and cheer and cheer. My God, Randall. Rebels, fighters, heroes of a brighter future. Let me ask you a question. The cheering lowered to a steady hum, jittering with excitement. Every single person stood rapt and attentive, waiting for his next words. He looks better like this. How does it feel to be beautiful, to be one of the chosen ones? The response came in a thunderous roar. They screamed as if God himself was standing on the stage. And he was. When more people believed in him than God, he would become God. I see before me good people, people who bear the greatest curse of all. But you don't deserve it. None of us deserve it. Another more deafening eruption of cries answered him. Everyone raised their fists, cheering, begging for more. This is why I have been sent to you. I am here to guide you to a time without suffering, without evil, without danger. I am here to make a free and fearless world for our kind. I am here to bring in a new age for us all. His speech boomed from the loudspeakers everywhere, like a voice splitting through the sky. We will purge it of anyone who tries to ruin our world, any gender, any race, any sexuality, any age, any religion. None of that will save them. All we see are those who would defile us and our beliefs. Flecks of spittle covered his lips and his sunken eyes shone feverishly. If they dare to speak out against us, against the truth, then we'll rid this world of their filth. Even if they pretend they're one of us, pretend they're on our side, do they think that will fool us? Frenzied screams came as his answer, shrieks that sounded more animal than human. We'll drown them in hate to make them see their evil, an evil we'll never accept. We'll shame them into suicide. Wow. And if they're too cowardly for that, we'll scare them into it, let them know how unwanted they are. Let them know how much we want them dead. It was almost impossible to hear him over the roar of so many voices. But that didn't matter. His voice only echoed their own thoughts. Hate to those who speak against us, write against us, draw or act or think against us. Hate to the scum, to the collective Antichrist, to the dangerous evil of these traitors. Hate to everyone who stands with the enemy. Hate to everyone who isn't us. It was like watching the beginning of the apocalypse. But it wasn't God smiting the world. It wasn't this man or a magic or prophecy or some unseen force. They will repent. Or they will suffer. As the screams finally overwhelmed even the speaker, his form shuddered and jerked, back heaving. Their energy flowed into him, and he always returned it with something even stronger. At last, he turned to look at me. I felt small, insignificant. I had no choice but to watch. I was the only one close enough to see the pure, total disgust in his eyes, even though it was too late. Because of that one night so long ago, I knew something no one else could fathom. In the end, no one would be saved. Wow, so like straight up Randall's route is just, like, his special ending is just garbage. I mean, not garbage, it was very good, but like, I mean. Alright. I'm gonna talk about spoilers on Heath's special end right now. Honestly, I recommend that you go through Heath's route first if you're at all interested in that. And then Randall's route, I guess, and then Marx's route. Although I probably talk about Marx's route here because I just did it. I just haven't done his special ending because I have to do Randall's. But yeah, so Heath's route, his was still a bit hopeful. Because I'm pretty sure the creator even not acknowledged, I can't think of the word, I'm so tired. He even said that the ending was not what you may instantly go to where... Okay, let's just go. Watch Heath's route if you care. Heath got himself in a lot of trouble. And he had to go away for a while to find himself outside of Hollywood, aka find his identity. Like, I feel like everyone is suffering with an identity crisis. Marcus is also suffering with an identity crisis in his own way. You can tell that, but that is such a theme that I'm now getting, that I'm now completely, like, understanding. But yeah, this was on the news, and they said it looked like it was a burning effigy, and they found, like, ashes or whatever. And the creator was like, I'm surprised at how many people are taking this as, like, a bad ending or whatever, like a truly bad ending. And that he killed himself. Because he thought he made it pretty clear that, you know, Heath had just faked his death and ran away. Okay. But this one is just terrible. Like, again, it's not terrible as in the story was terrible. It's terrible as in, you know, you kind of believe in someone. I don't know, there's so many, like, thoughts running through my mind right now about this route. He really was pretending to be a good guy, huh? I mean, I think he wasn't necessarily pretending. I think he did build up that persona until he believed it was true. Maybe not fully, but enough. And then since in the special, you didn't see it, but in the special, getting to the special end with the red choices, I guess I was kind of believing in him more than myself. I was kind of saying, oh, I'm with you, Randall. Like, I believe in you, Randall. I'll never be as strong as you, Randall. Kind of stuff like that. Those were the choices I had to make. And I guess that made him, I don't know, kind of lose sight of things. Like, it was like when you have a glimmer of hope and then that hope feels like it's extinguished, I feel like that could break people. So, I mean, I wasn't, it didn't have the same effect, no. It didn't have the same effect as Heath or Marcus. I didn't feel depressed. I didn't feel anything like weighing on me necessarily. It's more like a complicated mess of emotions. And of course, this scene is more. For some reason, it feels more disturbing now. Was it just me? I can't puzzle out why, but I'm sure I know why. You know what I mean? Does this even? Yeah, it does. He's just disgusted with everyone. Like, he's disgusted with the powerful people. But he's also disgusted by people who were once like him. And I knew that was why. I'm pretty sure I kind of puzzled that out in the Marcus route, where he says they're similar, Heath and Randall, and that, you know, he must see something in himself, about himself in Heath. Oh, there's just a lot. I mean, if anybody watches this and wants to like discuss something or tell me their thoughts, what they thought, when they played through it or watched this, I would love to know. I just didn't really expect it. Is he one of those special rare vampires who can what is it, but eat other vampires and not like throw up? Because I wondered why they kept mentioning that. So he is Story of a Nobody. This is gonna open and I'm not gonna play it because it will have copyrighted music, but it's just a playlist. Wait, was this? Story of a Star is Heath, right? No, okay. Wait. Story of a Star? Okay, Story of a Star is Randall. I thought Story of a Nobody was him. Okay. There's a lot of like Marilyn Manson on these. Marilyn Manson, The Beautiful People, of course. This was last updated on January 7th, 2021. Let me see what else is there. There's more Marilyn Manson. 9 Inch Nails, that's better. Marilyn Manson, Antichrist Superstar. Yeah, I mean, that's... Oh, it says The Story of a Superman. Huh. What does Heath say? The Story of a Nobody. Okay. I guess he does become a star. Is he truly no longer wrestling with his identity in the end? He's just himself again, or he's fully the person who he always was or always meant to be? I don't know. Alright, well, I think I'm gonna do Marcus's now just to get everything done. But yeah, thank you for watching. I'm gonna go do Marcus's special ending, I guess. And yeah, this has been one hell of a ride. This whole thing has been one hell of a ride. I almost wish I did Heath last because it left such an impression on me. And it feels like such a long time ago that I actually like talked with him or did his route, and it was at the beginning of the month of May. And I don't know. I don't know, this has just left such an impression on me. It's been such a long road as well. And I feel like my voice is going, but yeah, thank you if you have watched. If you watch Randall's route as well, thank you. If you've watched all of these, if you're the people who were watching Marcus's as well, thank you again. I'm gonna thank you again on the Marcus route just in case you don't watch this. But yeah, you guys are the first people to comment on my videos and I don't know, made me feel good. So thank you. I'm not gonna get too sappy, but thank you. And we'll see you technically in Marcus's route, but you're gonna watch that anyway before anything else, so bye.